My name is Jason. I'm one of the fellows here. And just like all of you, I'm very, very excited to have Yossi here to speak with us this evening about Israel and Zionism and all sorts of great things. Yossi Klein Halevi is a senior fellow at the Shalom Center's Institute for Zionist History and Thought. And he's a widely published author who, I'm sure all of you have seen the articles in the New Republic, Post, LA Times, all over the place. He's published a number of very excellent books, including Memoirs of a Jewish Extremist, like very, very good books. And I can say for myself and for many people here that his work is very inspiring. And I don't want to make you all wait too long to hear what he has to say tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Yossi Klein Halevi.
Thank you, and good evening. I took the description of what you're all doing seriously as a place of experiment, and therefore the presentation that I'm going to offer tonight is very much of an experiment. It's a talk that I've never given before, and I just finished writing it shortly before coming, so I don't even quite remember what the beginning was. So if you bear with me and enter into the shared nature of this experiment, I'd be very grateful to all of you. What I want to talk about tonight is the subject why Israel matters, and to try to create a contemporary understanding of Zionism, looking at what Zionism meant to the previous generation of Jews, the generation of the state and immediately after the founding of the state, and to look at three areas in particular, which I will hopefully remember what they are and know where to find them here, and then to try to look at how Jews in the last generation related to those areas. We can perhaps begin to conceive of ways in which Zionism can mean something to us. So again, I really have to apologize for a certain hesitancy in this presentation. It's not something that people who lecture for a living like to admit to, but this really is very much the first time that I'm work in progress, and we'll see what happens. I felt an urgency to deal with this subject for, I think, obvious reasons. We are seeing what can be called a return of diasporaism, diaspora ideology, which before the Shoah represented in one form or another a majority of the Jewish people, either in its Haredi strain or its Bundist strain, or the Jewish communists, parts of the Reform movement. If you put all of those together, they certainly represented a majority of the Jewish people. And for obvious reasons, the Shoah Zionized, or seemed to Zionize, the Jewish people. My fear is that that is beginning to unravel, and we see all kinds of signs. The most recent and literarily interesting and at the same time worrying sign is Michael Chabon's book about creating a Yiddish-speaking kingdom in Alaska. And there are numerous signs of Jews in the diaspora in particular, but here as well. Beginning, we saw the interview with Avram Borg, an astonishing historical moment given the fact that this guy was once the head of the World Zionist Organization. The head of the World Zionist Organization turns out to be an anti-Zionist. And Yossi Beilin and Shulamit Aloni turn out to be Zionists. They attacked Borg. So if you want to know what kind of a topsy-turvy Jewish world we're living in right now, I think that in some ways sums it up. And we're going to be in for lots and lots of surprises, I think, in the coming few years. Some of them perhaps positive, many of them negative, in terms of an erosion of basic commitment to Zionism, meaning that a Jewish state, a Jewish democratic state, is legitimate. That notion, which we have been able to take for granted, at least within the Jewish consensus, for the better part of almost 60 years, is now showing serious signs cracking. So I feel that before we address the rest of the world, before we think about how do we defend Israel, we need to stop. We need to take a pause and stimulate an internal conversation, which is one reason why I'm really excited about what you're all doing here. Because this is exactly what has to happen. We need to sit down and think among ourselves and remind ourselves what it is about Israel that instinctively moves us, and try to create a language beyond the instinct for what it is that makes Israel significant, first of all, to Jews. And then if Israel has a significance for humanity, which I believe it does, and I'll try to make that further argument here, then that's something we need to begin to articulate.